Chicago State University has released the academic records of President Bola Tinubu in its custody on the order of Judge Nancy Maldonado of the United States District Court of Illinois. Farooq Kperogi, a professor of journalism and researcher based in Greater Atlanta, USA, joins us now to review the release of Tinubu's academic records to Atiku and the court-ordered deposition by the university. Good to have you, Professor Kperogi.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So how would you review the release of President Tinubu's academic records to Mr. Atiku Abubakar? Has anything changed so far?
Well, I would say, yeah, a couple of things have changed. One, it's been established for a fact now that Tinubu did attend and graduate from the university, from Chicago State University. So that fact has been established. And it has also been established that it was he who actually did attend the university. But we also learned from the documents that were released that he presented a transcript that contained F as the marker of gender identity. And F, of course, everyone knows that's female. So that calls to question the real identity of the person who attended Southwest College, which later became Daly College. But in the deposition that I read, the registrar of the university said that was a clerical error, and that the records of his signatures and handwriting that he have at CSU is consistent with the signature he signed when he asked someone else to collect some of his documents on his behalf. So we have established that he attended the university, he graduated from it. But the other issue is the certificate that he presented to INEC. It's now clear that that certificate was forged. The registrar said they did not recognize it. It was not an authentic document that emanated from their school. But I want to give a little context here for the benefit of people who do not understand the American system. Here, certificates, or what we call here diplomas, are merely decorative, celebratory documents. They don't mean anything. Most employers will not ask you for your certificate. So it's not the same kind of importance that it has in Nigeria and maybe in Britain. If employers want to verify the authenticity of your claims to have attended and graduated from an institution, what they do is to ask for your transcripts. Even high schools here, secondary schools have transcripts. So even if people want to verify your secondary school attendance, they'll ask for your secondary school transcript. And you could see that the registrar was mystified, even discombobulated by the importance that Nigerians seem to be attaching to the document. And he says, well, he graduated from here. That we can confirm. But the certificate he used to verify that graduation is not from us. So these are the two issues that I see here. Of course, the other one is the pre-university certificate that he presented. Shows that he took an HSC exam, the GCA levels. And it's sort of mysterious because he said he graduated from Government College, Lagos. But we know that Government College, Lagos was not established until 1974. So he made this claim in 1975. So the school was only a year old when he said he graduated from it. And as I pointed out earlier, the HSC is a 2-year course of study beyond the secondary school. And to have earned a GCA A-level result in 1970 means that you must have graduated from high school, secondary school in 1968. So by 1968, that school did not exist. So there are questions now. There are still questions being asked. So one, we've established that he attended Chicago State University and graduated from it. There's no question about that now. Two, we have established that the certificate that Atiku's lawyers have presented as that which he presented to INEC is fake. So, and the question that I asked in my intervention is, I said, this is mysterious self-harm. Why would you do that to yourself? I graduated from a college, from a university, it's certain, I'm not making that up. But then the certificate that I used to justify this legitimate and true and valid claim is fake. Why would you do that? And I prognosticated, I guessed that he must have lost his certificate. And instead of applying for it, waited until the last minute and realized that to get a replacement certificate would take up to 10 weeks. Because I went to the website of the Chicago State University and I realized it costs just $26 to ask for a replacement, but then it takes between 8 and 10 weeks for you to get it back. So if you're doing that at the last minute, you might realize that, well, you can't get it. So a lot of things are being muddled here, which is, does the fact that he forged the certificate invalidate the legitimacy of his claim that he attended university? No. So these are completely different issues. It's like I graduated from the school. It's certain that has been established. But then these are, of course, different cultural issues. If he were in the United States, no one would ask for his diploma. They would ask for his transcript. And the transcript, you don't provide a transcript directly as a student. You write to your university to direct them to release a transcript to the people who are asking for it. That's the way it works here. So no one directly gives that evidence to whoever is asking for it. You have to waive your right to conceal your academic records because there's a rule called FERPA. It's a federal law that says no one can have access to anyone's academic records unless that person expressly permits it or if the courts force the university to do it. So if you ask, if an employer asks for your records to verify or validate your claims to have graduated from a high school or a university, you have to write a form. You have to fill out a form to say, okay, release my documents, it's me. And if you don't have a signature, because it's not possible to write a signature, your social security number will verify identity. So that's the way it works.
Now, thank you so much for that detailed explanation. Before the documents were released, the president, through his lawyers, had tried to block the release, saying it will cause them severe harm and that it will not be admissible in the ongoing petition against him in Nigeria. But I'm wondering, what impact, do you think it will have any significant impact on the appeal at the Supreme Court that Atiku Abubakar has filed, especially when you consider the way the Election Petition Tribunal ruled in the first instance?
Well, not being a lawyer, I can't speculate as to how the Supreme Court is going to rule on this. We have a Supreme Court that is now predictable, that does not respect precedents, that is mysterious in its judgments. So it's not an exercise that I'm prepared to partake in. A Supreme Court that allowed someone who came forth in an election to be declared a winner. A Supreme Court that says a governorship election in which someone clearly won was invalid because deputy had a certificate that had different names from where he bears. I mean, those things, frankly, don't make any sense, but we just look forward to what the Supreme Court says. But, and there are arguments, lawyers never agree on anything. Some set of lawyers say new evidence cannot be accepted in court. Other lawyers say, well, no, it can be accepted. But here, this forgery, frankly, it's a very unconventional forgery. And we're going to see, because it's what I call it unconventional, because people typically associate forgery with making stuff up that you do not possess, that you do not have. if, for instance, he did not attend Chicago State University and decided to get a certificate indicating that he attended, that's what we understand forgery to mean. But in this case, he did attend Chicago State University. He graduated from there with honors. And the registrar said even the F that appeared in the transcript that he showed was a clerical error, because his performance at Southwest College and his performance at Chicago State University are consistent, because he graduated with honors in both. And I asked in my intervention yesterday, if someone were to get a diploma or a certificate belonging to someone else and use that as a basis to get admission to study the same course, I don't expect them to perform as well in that course as they did in previous classes. So there's some consistency in the performance from both Southwest College and Chicago State University, indicating that it's the same person. And we know that that person is the person we know today as Bola Ahmed Tinubu. But why he did not have the patience to apply and get the certificate he needed to verify and validate his graduation is what I don't know. So what do you call that sort of forgery? It's not a forgery to verify it's not a forgery based on false pretenses. It's forgery based on carelessness, overconfidence, maybe I think the predilection to just do things, without care, without thought, without preparation. That's what that strikes me as. So the Supreme Court is going to debate what kind of forgery this is. So there's both the spirit and the letter of the law. The letter of the law says if you forge a document, you should be disqualified. But the spirit is, what does forgery mean? Forgery to present yourself as that which you are not, or forgery that comes out of carelessness, because he, as I said, did clearly attend and graduate from the school. So that's the legal dilemma I think that the Supreme Court will have to interpret.
Very good. Unfortunately, the issue refused to die down, and of course, social media has its own version of the narratives. Now we're hearing that the F on that certificate actually belongs to a medical doctor bearing the same name with Bola Tinubu. Can you give more insight on that?
Yeah, I saw those claims, and at first they seemed very plausible. But when I searched up the name of the person and the identity of the person, incidentally, she practices at a town called Opelousas, which is very close to, it's like less than an hour away from where I lived a couple of years ago. And then it turned out that this Tinubu, Abimbola Adenike Tinubu, is actually 52 years old and graduated from the University of Ilorin Medical School. So it's very improbable that that person is the Bola Tinubu, is the same thing as Bola Tinubu. It's extremely improbable. In 1970, she was born in 1971, attended the University of Ilorin, and graduated in 1998. The likelihood that that's the person that Bola Tinubu, what we now know as President Bola Tinubu, is impersonating, is completely untenable. So I think that's just social media propaganda speculations that is certainly untrue.
So with this revelation from the Chicago State University, are we any closer to actually knowing who indeed the president is? Because there's been a lot of speculation about who he is, about who he's not. There's been so many conspiracy theories surrounding his personality. Are we now closer, or will it be right to say that all doubts have been cleared and he is who he says he is?
No, I wouldn't say all doubts have been clear, but I think we have pathways to discovering who he really is now. And I think for me, that pathway is the secondary school result. There's no government college Lagos. That fact has been established. There was no government college Lagos at the time he said he graduated from it. And then he was supposed to have graduated in 1968, but then he said it was 1970. And I think that provides a lead that we can pursue. What did he mean by government college Lagos? Did he by any chance mean government college Ibadan? Because that's the most popular government college of that era. And he had claimed that in previous INEC forms that he submitted in 1998. So, but of course, many alumni, most notably one, I think it's Femi Aridis. Forgive me, I'm not pronouncing the name correctly, but there is a pastor who writes for the Premium Times who has consistently said that he graduated from Government College Ibadan about the same time that Tinubu claimed to have graduated from it. So there's that provides a pathway to dig further into his background and to his claims. My own suspicion, which is not supported by any hard and fast evidence, is that the certificate, the A-level certificate he presented, does not belong to him. But I don't have any proofs, any valid, foolproof evidence for it. It's just my hunch. And I think that's where we are going to pursue, because the other leads, frankly, have proved to be dead ends. Because for the registrar to say under oath that they are convinced that he was not female, although F appears on his transcript, and on that same transcript there are so many clerical errors. The U.S. Social Security numbers are written 3 numbers, 4 numbers, 4, and then you have 2 numbers in the middle, and then 4 numbers at the end. But on that transcript, the middle numbers were 3. And when I initially saw it, I said it's impossible to have Social Security numbers with that kind of numbering system. That does not happen here. From the very get-go, when Social Security numbers were established, the format has always been 2 numbers in the middle. And to have 3 numbers there, as I thought, suggested a fakeness, but it turned out that it was real. So that transcript itself has problems, not just the F. And as you can see in that transcript, the record for high school was blank. The date is completely nonsensical. It has just the month and the year. And so many other things were wrong with that transcript. But of course, you have to remember the time. This was in the mid-70s. And so many things were off. So I think there's a little wiggle room here. If these other errors exist, why do you think the F says anything? Why do you think the F is valid? If the Social Security number has an error, the high school is blank, the date itself is wrong, why is the F right? You have to agree that all these other things are right to insist that the F being there is an issue. So, and the registrar says that they believe that he was a man when he was at Chicago State, went to Southwest College, which later became Daly University. And he did take exams, qualifying exams. And the qualifying exams was in English, math, and reading. And he was there physically as a man taking the exams. So there are all kinds of issues there. It's still a little murky who he really, what happened there. But for me, it's I'm satisfied that this man swore under oath that it's the same Bola Tinubu who was at Southwest College that came to Chicago State University and graduated from it. So I don't know what the Supreme Court is going to say about that. But yeah, these are my thoughts.
All right, very good. Finally, do you think this will give any leverage to Mr. Atiku Abubakar, politically regarding his current bid to have his elections, progresses during the tribunal? And of course, this is not the first time the former vice president will question every other politician regarding their credentials. Remember, a few years ago, former President Jonathan also went under this same, scenario as well. And of course, the court here gave him succor. Briefly, what do you think of this scenario for him as well?
Yeah, well, as I said earlier, I cannot predict how the Supreme Court is going to rule. But what former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has succeeded in doing, from my perspective, is to hold President Bola Tinubu to account, to beam the searchlights on his identity and his credentials. So even if he doesn't win the legal war, I think he has won the moral battle. Because whatever happens, even if the Supreme Court does not overturn Tinubu's election, he's been wounded almost irreparably in moral terms. But you're right that this is not the first time the certificate issues have cropped up. Even Buhari himself, his secondary school result was the subject of a lot of disputation until he finally got someone to get Cambridge to release his result, and has satisfied some of us who had questioned it. Good luck, Jonathan himself. I was the one who went out of my way to get people from the University of Port Harcourt to look at the records of doctoral dissertations written between the 1980s and 1990s. That's when I saw I saw a record of his dissertation there. I saw the title. I saw the person who supervised him, the number of pages he wrote. And I was asking in my column at the time, why in the world he was keeping that away from the world? Because there was a Freedom of Information Act request to get the records. The university refused. He himself refused. And then it raised this cloud of suspicion that his doctoral dissertation or his doctoral degree was fake. So, I mean, it's almost always that way. People tend to not want anyone to pry into the privacy of their private records, academic records, for any number of reasons. Maybe I can understand that they think that, that there's a phenomenon called apophenia, which is the tendency to see patterns and information that don't even exist. Obama was told, for instance, that he wasn't born in America. He gave all kinds of birth certificates to prove it, including his live birth certificate. But a huge percentage of Republicans to this day do not believe it. They look at the document and say, did you see that letter there? Did you see the number in this? Did you see the edges, how they are? That's fake. You'll always find, and then, so there's a human tendency to want to give comfort to your prejudices, to confirm your biases, and that sort of thing. So evidence in that does not really work. People want to confirm what they've always known. So because of that, most people are reluctant to let you have access to their documents. And I think
Professor Kperogi, so sorry to interrupt you, but we're completely out of time. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.